Right off the bat, the movie started off with Romy intimating with Jacob. Jacob is finished, but she looks unsatisfied. While he sleeps, Romy sneaks into her study room, seeking an outlet for her unfulfilled desires through her laptop, which you know what.
Do you like this kind of stuff?
The next morning, she masks her dissatisfaction with her strict beauty routine, determined to maintain her youthful glow. As a mother, she fulfills her duties, preparing breakfast and packing lunch for her daughter. But when her eldest Isabel asks if her girlfriend Mary can stay over, Romy refuses, setting boundaries that frustrate Isabel.
What did you keep wearing?
On her way to work, Romy witnesses a vicious dog attacking bystanders, just as it seems like she might be next. A mysterious man in a loose coat whistles, calming the animal with an eerie ease. She's both relieved and intrigued. At work, Romy unveils a new AI-driven robot, Harvest, designed to revolutionize workplace efficiency. During the intern introductions, she invites questions, but one stands out. Samuel, the same man who tamed the dog, challenges her on whether automation truly promotes sustainability or if it's just a marketing ploy.
Can provide a path to sustainability, or is that just something people say to make you like robots?
His boldness catches her off guard, but she says nothing as her assistant Esme quickly dismisses the interns. Later, Romy finds herself drawn to Samuel again. When she orders him to make her coffee, she seizes the moment to ask how he tamed the dog.
How'd you get that dog to calm down?
I gave it a cookie.
His response? Simple. He gave it a cookie. Then with a teasing smirk, he asks if she wants one. She brushes it off, but an undeniable tension lingers. That night, Romy pushes Jacob to be more aggressive in bed. But when he hesitates, sensing something deeper, he stops. At the office Christmas party, Romy struggles to keep her attention on Esme's conversation. Her eyes keep drifting towards Samuel. Overwhelmed, she steps out onto the balcony for a cigarette break. Samuel appears, asking to borrow her lighter, and then casually drops a bomb. He's chosen her as his mentor. Confused, Romy clarifies she's not part of the program, but Samuel insists an email confirms otherwise. Back inside, she watches him dance with another employee, feeling something stir inside her. When he drops his tie absent-mindedly, she notices but says nothing. The next day, Romy is surprised to find Samuel's tie still on the floor. Impulsively, she picks it up and hides it. Back in her office, she struggles to focus. The tie in her bag is a distraction she can't ignore. Giving in, she pulls it out, running her fingers over the fabric, lost in thought. Later, she heads to a cosmetic clinic for Botox and fillers, chasing the illusion of youth. That evening, as her family takes their Christmas photo, she fixates on Isabel's outfit, deeming it inappropriate. When she confronts her, Isabel snaps back, mocking Romy's newly enhanced face. The words sting. The next morning in the office elevator, Romy examines her reflection, still haunted by Isabel's remark. Samuel steps in, breaking the silence with a cryptic comment.
Oh, I'm looking forward to Tuesday.
Confused, Romy asks why. Samuel reminds her it's their first mentorship session. She tries to shut it down, claiming she's too busy, but he insists she can make time. It's only 10 minutes. Then he notices the bruising from her recent procedure. You don't need enhancements, he remarks, before quickly complimenting her appearance to ease the tension. At lunch, Romy catches Samuel and Esme chatting on the balcony, stirring an unexpected curiosity in her. That evening, as Esme helps her conceal her bruises, she hints at wanting a promotion. Romy gives a vague answer, linking it to the mentorship program. During their next session, Samuel asks what inspired Romy's vision for warehouse automation. She dismisses it as a Google-able question, but he presses on, wanting her answer. As she recalls her journey, Samuel repeatedly interrupts, testing his dominance over the conversation. Unfazed, Romy ignores him, until he suddenly delivers a cutting remark. Behind her powerful persona, he believes she wants to be dominated. The air thickens. The tension is palpable. Even Samuel realizes he's crossed a line. She hurriedly scribbles her phone number, slipping it to him, a move that makes Samuel smirk with satisfaction. As Romy attempts to leave the room, Samuel blocks her path. At first, she meets his gaze with a challenging stare, but he doesn't move. Then, without warning, he leans in and kisses her. That evening, Romy receives a text from an unknown number. Before she can check it, a noise outside catches her attention. Curious, she peers through the window, only to see Isabel fooling around with their neighbor, Ophelia. Bothered by what she's witnessed, Romy confronts her daughter the next morning. To her surprise, Isabel shrugs it off. Later that afternoon, as Romy exits the building, Samuel rushes toward her, demanding to know why she skipped their mentorship session. She refuses to engage, brushing past him, but Samuel doesn't back down. He corners her, pressing for an answer. loud enough to attract the attention of passersby. Feeling the pressure, Romy reluctantly ends the conversation with a vague promise to consider attending.
Sure, I'll think about it.
Okay.
Kid.
That evening, Romy makes an unexpected visit to the theater where Jakob works as a director. Her husband is genuinely surprised. It's been years since she set foot in his workplace. But Romy simply smiles, draping herself over him, suddenly affectionate. Jacob watches her curiously. Later, at a bar with her subordinates, Romy's attention keeps drifting toward Samuel's table. Suddenly, Esme excuses herself and makes her way to the interns, laughing at Samuel's jokes and playfully striking his arm. Their easy chemistry sparks something unsettling in Romy, but before she can dwell on it, a waiter places a glass of milk in front of her. Confused, she scans the table. None of her colleagues ordered it. Then she locks eyes with Samuel. The realization clicks. He ordered it for her. She picks up the glass and drinks it, holding his gaze. Samuel watches, a smirk of satisfaction creeping onto his face. After the party, as Romy settles the bill, Samuel approaches from behind. He leans in and whispers a single remark. Good girl. After one of Jacob's productions, Romy rushes backstage to congratulate her husband. But before he can fully embrace the moment, she tells him she has to leave for a work emergency. Jacob is visibly upset. This was the one night he truly needed her by his side. Walking away. Back at her office, she notices a note on her desk, left by Samuel. The message is clear. He wants her to meet him at a hotel tomorrow night. The next evening, Romy arrives at a cheap hotel, tension gripping her. Inside, the room is empty. She waits. Minutes stretch on. For the first time, she is the one waiting, and it unnerves her. Finally, Samuel arrives. But his demeanor is cold, indifferent. Frustrated, Romy lays down boundaries. She forbids him from calling her, leaving notes on her desk, or buying her drinks.
You want me to... I don't really know how to... What do you want from me? Because get on your knees now.
With chilling confidence, he orders her to kneel. Romy freezes. Her pulse pounds in her ears. She refuses. She admits she's hesitant, afraid of crossing the line, afraid of abusing her power. But Samuel laughs. Power, he taunts. I have the power here. One call from me, and your entire career's over. Then he commands her again. Kneel. This time she falters. Her body tenses as she struggles against the pull of her own conflicting emotions. Suddenly she grabs her bag and rushes for the door. But then she stops. A moment of hesitation. And then she turns back. Samuel pushes her away. Not like this. He doesn't want their intimacy to begin this way. Instead, he commands her to get on all fours. Romy hesitates, but ultimately, she complies. Then, Samuel feeds her with his hands, treating her like an animal. Afterward, Romy becomes overwhelmed with emotion. In him, she has found someone who fulfills her in ways she never imagined. From that night on, Romy continues to meet with Samuel in secret. With each rendezvous, she feels more alive, more rejuvenated. The change doesn't go unnoticed. At home, she engages with her family more warmly than before, but her happiness is short-lived. One day, Samuel shows up unannounced at her country house. Romy is instantly on edge. He claims he's just returning the laptop she forgot at the office, but she knows better. This isn't about a laptop. To avoid suspicion, she plays along, masking her panic. Later, inside her car, Romy's facade crumbles. She scolds Samuel harshly. Showing up at her home is a dangerous boundary to cross. Her family matters to her. She won't let him ruin that. Samuel, clearly hurt, moves to exit the car, but Romy locks the doors. She isn't finished. With a deep breath, she delivers the words she's been avoiding. This has to stop. Samuel's expression hardens. The next day at work, Romy's heart stops when she sees Samuel deep in conversation with Mr. Missel, one of the board of directors. Panic surges through her. As Samuel walks past her office, he greets her politely, coldly, as if nothing ever happened. Relief washes over her when Mr. Missel only brings up her ad campaign. But just as she begins to relax, her phone buzzes. A message from Samuel. Meet me on the rooftop. There, Samuel shocks her with a request.
I don't feel comfortable working for you anymore.
He wants a transfer. He insists he can't keep working under her. Romy immediately refuses. If he leaves, people will talk. It will raise suspicions. It will ruin her. But Samuel stands his ground. That night, Romy waits for a message from him. Nothing. Instead, Jacob slides into bed beside her, initiating intimacy. But she feels nothing.
I've never had an orgasm with you.
Frustrated, she pushes him away and leaves. Not long after, she finds herself at the bar where Samuel works part-time. Instead, he calls over his colleague, Josh, and has him escort her out. The next morning, Jacob finally confronts her. Why did you push me away? Blaming stress. But Jacob isn't convinced. Shortly after, Romy meets with Samuel again. Not for passion, but out of fear. Did you tell anyone? She asks. Samuel sees right through her. She doesn't want their affair to end. She's just scared. So he offers a solution. Then we do this right. We make sure it's consensual. Romy's confused. And then he lays out his rule. She must obey him. Romy immediately protests. Samuel leans in. If you don't, he murmurs, I expose everything. The threat is enough. She folds. Samuel takes control. Sit at the table. he orders. Romy slowly does as she's told. Say it out loud. He presses. Say you'll obey me.
You tell me what
Her voice quivers, but she complies. From then on, they meet in a luxurious suite. This time Samuel orders her to disrobe. Romy hesitates. As she slowly removes her clothing, "You're beautiful," he tells her. But Romy's emotions overwhelm her. She doesn't believe him. Gently, Samuel pulls her into his arms. "You are." Before they go further, he asks an unexpected question. "What's our safe word?" Romy pauses. Then softly she answers, "Jacob." The next day, at Isabel's birthday party, Romy is surprised to see Esme arrive with Samuel. Despite the awkwardness, she welcomes them. Later in the kitchen, Romy confronts Samuel for showing up unannounced again, and questions his closeness with Esme. Samuel reveals that he is now seeing her, which triggers Romy's possessiveness. Before the conversation escalates, Esme appears, forcing them to separate. The following morning, Romy warns Esme about the risks of dating an intern, subtly discouraging her from pursuing a relationship with Samuel. That evening, Romy goes to a nightclub to drink and spend time with Samuel. Upon returning home, she finds Isabel awake and visibly emotional. Isabel confesses that Mary broke up with her. The next day, Esme visits Romy and reveals that she knows about her affair with Samuel. However, instead of threatening her, she urges Romy to end the relationship and focus on her career. Esme's words make Romy feel guilty, leading her to confess her infidelity to Jacob. When Jacob demands to know the man's identity, Romy lies, saying it was a stranger. He orders her to leave. A few days later, Romy isolates herself in her country house, consumed by regret. One evening, she hears a noise outside and discovers Samuel swimming in her pool. Alarmed, she confronts him and orders him to leave, fearing they might be seen. When Samuel extends his hand, Romy assumes he needs help out of the water, but he unexpectedly pulls her in and kisses her. As they return inside, Jacob suddenly appears. Realizing that Samuel is the man Romy had an affair with, Jacob remains composed and asks Romy to leave the room. Romy refuses, afraid that Jacob might react violently. Samuel attempts to de-escalate the situation, but Jacob shoves him away. When the fight ends, Jacob looks at Samuel with pity, believing Romy used him to satisfy her fantasies. Overwhelmed by emotions, Jacob suffers a panic attack. Seeing this, Samuel hands him a glass of water. He then apologizes for causing harm before leaving without looking. Days later, Esme, now promoted, delivers a speech recognizing Romy's leadership. Meanwhile, Romy remains in her country house, feeling hollow and defeated. Isabel visits her, offering comfort and urging her to return home. Revealing that Jacob has stopped eating and spends his nights at the theater, Romy visits Jacob at the theater, taking full responsibility for her infidelity. At work, Mr. Missel informs Romy that Jacob has been transferred to Japan and asks if she had any involvement in it. Romy remains silent. Changing the subject, Mr. Missel invites her to stay at his place, but Romy is disgusted by his crude offer. Insulted, she dismisses him with a sharp remark. Later, after reconciling with Jacob, Romy discusses her desires openly with him for the first time. As they become intimate, her mind drifts to Samuel, picturing him petting the untamed dog inside the cheap hotel room. And that's the end of Baby Girl. I'd give it a solid 3.5 out of 5. If you're into this genre, it's definitely worth a watch. It's refreshing to see a film tackle these themes with such intensity. Alright, that's it for today. Peace out, and I'll see you next time.